Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday Morning and the Old Cookbook Show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of this cookbook sent in by one of our viewers. It's called Cookies and More Cookies. It was published in 1938 and I find it to be kind of an interesting snapshot of 1938. This is from the United States. Now the cookie we're going to do today is from the England section of the book and it's called Abergavenny Nuts. And it is essentially a molasses cookie. So we're going to start out with molasses, and I'm going to put that into a bowl. Very few directions for this recipe, totally in keeping with the time. It just says to mix the ingredients in the order given. So first in is the molasses, and next in is sugar. So I'm going to use a hand mixer and start to bring this together. Now, the next ingredient on the list is shortening, and then in parentheses it says half butter and half lard. So I've got half butter and half pure lard, and I'm going to put in the butter first and mix that in, and then put in the lard. I think if I put it in all at once, it'll just be a mess. Okay, the butter's not fully mixed in, but I think I'll add the lard in at this point and continue mixing. I think this has come together okay. This is one of those recipes where if I had been presented with absolutely no instruction, I would have done this in a different order. I would have creamed together the butter and the lard first until it was light and fluffy, then added the sugar, creamed that together, then the molasses. For some reason, they wanted us to do it in a different order. Not sure how that's going to affect the outcome or if it will affect the outcome. Next in, I've got salt, ground ginger, and baking soda. And so we'll just mix that in. Next ingredient is warm water. It doesn't say how warm the water needs to be, just warm water. So these cookies have no eggs, and I think I've got that mixed together fairly well. No eggs at all. The next ingredient is flour, and given that this is 1938, from this point forward, you pretty much always get how much flour to put into a recipe. From 1938 and earlier, they often don't tell you how much flour. Just add enough flour to make a stiff dough. So I've got a bowl of flour here, and I'm just going to mix it in until I get a stiff dough. So I'll start out with that much, move on to a wooden spoon, and see what happens. Now I've added somewhere between 3.5 and 4 cups of flour, and I think I've got a stiff dough. But stiff dough is rather subjective. Your stiff dough and my stiff dough are going to be completely different ideas. I think I'm there. Let's move on to baking them. So we scoop this out into a ball, put it onto a cookie sheet, and then put a piece of candied or preserved ginger on top. Just like that. And it says to bake them 1 inch apart. Now, these bake in a moderate oven for 10 to 15 minutes.
Hey, Glenn, is it time for cookies?
Time for cookies. So,
Hey, friends.
we've already had a potato dish. Check that one out on the channel earlier this week. We just had a sausage and shrimp stew, which was amazing. And now, these cookies.
With
Let me get the cookbook. Go ahead, give it a try.
cookies with big slices of ginger on it. That's just,
Because I can't remember the name of the cookie. I've tried all day long to remember and say it correctly. These are Abergavenny Nuts. And that's it. They're a molasses and ginger cookie.
They're crispy. Mm-hmm. They're gingery. Mm-hmm. Winner.
Yeah. That's a really good cookie. And if you cooked it a little bit less, they'd be chewy.
Yes.
Because the first ones I took out of the oven, I undercooked. And they were really nice and chewy, weren't they?
And these ones are nice and crispy. Mm-hmm. Choices. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on the name?
So this is essentially a community cookbook of recipes that are sent in from all over the United States based on what they had in their homeland before they came to the U.S. And so this one says, this is a very old recipe named after the Morgan Farm in Herefordshire, England.
Okay.
So I guess this family who submitted the recipe had a farm and they've just called it after their farm. And I was expecting, because it's called nuts, I was expecting them to be round and domed,
Okay.
which not the case, but doesn't matter because they're really good anyway. So I could eat these all night.
And of course, a cup of tea. You that's where you were supposed to say something, Glenn, and not eat more
I'm
cookies.
shoving cookies in my mouth.
You're supposed to tell them that you'll see them again soon. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Gutting.
As I struggle to remember what Glenn says.